In this video, I want to talk about motivation and choosing reinforcers. This module covers a lot of information about reinforcement and different strategies designed to teach skills. Motivation is a really big piece of effective reinforcement. I want you to think about some things that are specific to your learner, your child, and what is motivating to him or her. I know that we all kind of really would like for all of our children to be motivated just because it's what they're supposed to be doing. They talk a lot about intrinsic motivation and how we really want the children to be self-driven and that's all great, but if we can't get our learners to the point where they're willing to follow some basic directions, they are learning to develop some new skills, a lot of our learners just aren't there yet. It doesn't mean that they'll never be intrinsically motivated, but right now we have to focus on what is motivating to the individual child. So think about that in terms of what does your child really enjoy. If you were to leave your child to choose anything that he wanted to do, what would that be? What would he be most interested in doing? Or if you're looking for maybe an edible reinforcer, what are those things that he most gets excited to eat? And so a lot of times, as far as edible reinforcers go, we think about all of the little candies and things. But for some kids, a little piece of a strawberry, or even I had one boy that I was working with who would do almost anything for a green bean. So it doesn't have to be anything that we might be motivated by. It has to be specific to your child or your learner and what motivates him or her to do what you're asking him to do. So really think about what is specifically of interest to the child that you're trying to reinforce. If, for example, you wanted to provide reinforcement to me and you offered me a piece of a tomato, well, I don't like tomatoes, so I'm not really going to be motivated to do that. But if you offer me a little piece of dark chocolate, I would be pretty motivated to do that, to do something for it because I really enjoy dark chocolate and it's something I don't have a lot. And that brings me to another key point. When you're thinking about motivation, you have to keep in mind that motivation for different things changes over time. So that happens in part because of our exposure to that particular reinforcer. So let's use dark chocolate as an example. I might be motivated for dark chocolate right now because I don't have it very often. It's something that I see as a little bit of a treat, and I have it in small quantities when I do have it. So for me, dark chocolate is somewhat motivating because it's not something I have access to all of the time. Keeping that in mind, yes, I like dark chocolate, but I'm not going to do a full week of work at my job if all they're going to give me is a piece of dark chocolate at the end. So there's those two pieces that are really important to keep in mind, that motivation increases when we have restricted access to something that we really enjoy, and it really depends on how much we're asking of the child, whether or not that reinforcer is going to be enough. So I like to think of reinforcers as our children's paychecks. So you wouldn't show up to work if you didn't get a paycheck. You might love your job and really feel passionate about the work that you do, but in the end, you need that paycheck. And the same is true for your child. So as you're teaching new skills, you need to keep that in mind. Think about what is motivating to your child, because he's not motivated by the same things that you are. You can't just give him a paycheck at the end of the week and call it good. Sometimes with some of our other children, we might be able to use an allowance as kind of a motivator to do some chores. But for a lot of our kids, money is not what motivates them. You really have to pay attention to what they're most interested in and what gets them most excited. And then we kind of have to arrange the situation so that they don't have unrestricted access to it. So think about a money tree. So if you had a money tree growing in your backyard, how motivated would you be to go to work to earn that paycheck? If the money tree produced more money than you were making at your job, you might not go to work at all. On the other hand, if the money tree only gave you a few dollars here and there, you might still need to go to your job to pay for those things that you want, electricity and your mortgage and all of those things. So keep in mind that the amount of access your child has to whatever reinforcers you're going to use will significantly impact how motivated your child is to do the things that you're asking of him. So motivation really depends on that exposure and also the response effort. So how much we're asking them to do for a particular reinforcer. So that means that you probably will need a wide variety of things to choose from, right? So for some of the skills, little edible treats might be the best way to go. If you're looking for something that's really quick to deliver, or you don't have to get the item back from your child. On the other hand, it might be that he needs 15 minutes with a video game to motivate him to do some of those tasks that are really labor intensive, or at least from his perspective are labor intensive. So you need to balance the reward with the task that you're asking of him. So really keep that in mind as you're learning about reinforcement. You want to make sure that whatever you're choosing will be motivating enough. So make sure that you're limiting access to those things that your child or your learner really is motivated by, because if they can get free access to whatever it is you want to use as a reinforcer, then there's no reason for them to then also have to do what you're asking of them. So I hope this is helpful. Make sure that you continue to check out the rest of the module and ask any questions if this seems a little confusing or is unclear at all. All right, I'll talk to you soon.